if you will go with me to John 14, I'm going to go to a verse. I so appreciate God. I frankly did not have anything to speak. And I was in my office just praying, worshiping God, praying, getting ready to come out here. And God spoke to me a verse. And I love it when the Spirit of God speaks. A lot of times when the Spirit of God will speak a verse to me, he'll speak more verses right after it. I mean, it just all comes in a package. And this came in a package. All right, John 14, verse 27, a verse that I never quite understood and understand it today more than ever. Jesus speaking, he said, peace I leave with you. He said, my peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, and neither let it be afraid. Look at that verse again. Peace I leave with you. Why was he saying he was leaving it? Because he was getting ready to go to the cross. He was getting ready to die. He was getting ready to be buried and be raised again and then go sit with the Father. He said, peace I leave with you. But you know what? I always thought that peace meant like tranquility. That is not the definition of this word. If you look it up in Thayer's lexicon, this peace means peace, but it also means security. And it means safety. And it means happiness. It's not just a tranquility. It's safety. It's security. It's happiness. It's well-being. Everything you need. That's what Jesus said to his disciples. He said, peace I leave with you. Everything you need, I'm going to leave with you. And he said, my peace, everything that you need, I'm going to give you. That's why he can say, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid. I will never forget the day that I woke up on, I think it was a Thursday, Friday morning, and the Spirit of God immediately spoke to me, let not your heart be troubled, and neither let it be afraid. And I thought, uh-oh. That was my first thought. What's going to happen? That was the day that Doyle could not eat, could not swallow, couldn't even swallow water. And I appreciate God. I so appreciate God. He woke me up in the morning with that verse, and I never was afraid. I just had to be patient. And God walked you through. So God knew what was going to happen to you. He knew he was going to put you on that fast. And he knew I'd freak out unless he had told me that. And I didn't. So now, that's, that's part of peace. That was part of peace. God warned me ahead of time. This is what's coming, Kathie. Just relax. Like I've heard Dole's telling me 100 times. Just relax, Kathie. Just relax. All right, now, I want to show you some of that security. Go with me to Acts 2. Or Acts 12. I'm going to begin in verse 1. Now, after that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church. And he killed James, the brother of John, with a sword. And you say, you call that peace? Hey, I love the way Schambach says it. Instant glory. Amen. James's job was done. Amen. Instant glory. He's with the Lord. It says, and because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded to take Peter also. It wasn't Peter's time yet. You know what? Peter knew it wasn't his time yet because Jesus said, when you're old. Peter wasn't old yet.
Amen.
He said, then were the days of unleavened bread. And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. And Peter therefore was kept in prison, but prayer was made without ceasing of the church unto God for him. And when Herod would have brought him forth, you talk about peace? You talk about peace? Look at this. The same night, Herod's getting ready to bring him forth. Peter's getting ready to lose his head. What does Peter do? He was sleeping between 2 soldiers. Sleeping between 2 soldiers. Why? He had the peace of Jesus.
Oh.
He had the peace of Jesus. Jesus told him before he went to heaven, Peter, when you're old, they're gonna bind you up and they're gonna take you where you don't want to go. Peter's not old yet. Peter knew he was coming out. So what's Peter do? He sleeps. He says Peter was sleeping between 2 soldiers bound with 2 chains. And the keepers before the door kept the prison. And behold, the angel of the Lord came upon him. A light shined in the prison. And he smote Peter on the side and raised him up, saying, arise up quickly. And Peter's chains fell off from his hands.
Amen.
And the angel said to him, gird thyself, bind on thy sandals. And he did. And he said to him, cast thy garment about thee and follow me. And he went out and followed him, and wist not it was true what was done by the angel, but thought he saw a vision. You know, there are people that say, well, that couldn't happen nowadays. We have too much security. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? God wants you out of a prison, you will walk out of that prison and they won't see you walk. That is the peace of God. And you know what? They won't find you after you get out either. All right, let's look about safety. Go with me to Acts 27. They're in a storm, a major storm. Paul is in a storm. They're trying to get Paul to Rome. You know what? Paul's not afraid. Why? Because Jesus told Paul, you got to see Rome. You got to see Rome. Paul knew he wasn't going to perish in this boat, but nobody else did. Nobody else did. Luke was with Paul. Some of his helpers were with him. It says, but after a long abstinence, verse 21 of chapter 27, Paul stood in the midst of them and said, sirs, you should have hearkened unto me. I told you so. It says, and not loose from Crete and to gain this harm and loss. And now I exhort you to be of good cheer, for there shall be no loss of any man's life among you, but of the ship. You call that peace? Do you call that the peace of God? Safety, security, welfare, happiness, peace, tranquility. And if you go to the last verse of chapter 27, it says, and the rest that were on the boat, 200, I think it was 280 some people. There were 260 some. And the rest, some on boards and some on broken pieces of the ship. And so it came to pass that they all escaped to land. That is the peace of Jesus. That is the peace we walk in. That is the peace provided for us. Go with me to Isaiah 53, verse 6. Let's go in verse 4. Surely Jesus has borne our sicknesses and carried our pains on the cross. Yet we did esteem him stricken of God and afflicted. But he was pierced, he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. And look at the next verse. The chastisement, the punishment, the correction, whatever it took for our peace. For our peace. Same word, same definition as in Luke or as in John 14. Same definition. Our peace, our prosperity, our safety, our security, our happiness was laid on Jesus, was put on Jesus. The chastisement of our peace was on him, was on Jesus. Folks, that's the peace we want. That's the peace we want. And you know where you're going to find it? You are only going to find it. You are only going to find it in the gospel. You will not find it anywhere else. That's where your peace was bought. That is why every situation you find yourself in, every situation you find yourself in, there will be a way out. It is assured. It has been paid for. Your way out of that situation was paid for by Jesus on the cross. Every situation. And folks, I've been in enough of them to say that I've been in enough bad spots, but every single bad place I have been in, every single time I have been in trouble, I have gotten out through the gospel. And they have been some scary, rough times, but every one of them, God has never, ever failed me. And that is because of Jesus, not because of me. That is because of what Jesus did for me and you on the cross. And at the end of this program, the first thing you're going to need to do to get this to work in your life is to be born again. Because when you're born again, you will get the Spirit of Jesus in you. He will be born into you, and he will guide you into this gospel.
Confess Jesus, Lord, and speak it after me, and be born again. You've got the faith, and you've got the grace in your heart. Speak it. Follow me. Jesus, 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 Jesus.